Hey guys, coming back with another set of low-level invasions. Very quickly, just kind of traversing my build, showing you a little bit of information about the tools I'm using. The Evelyn and the Astora Straight Sword are my main tools with explosive and lightning bolts. Switch to the Arbalest on occasion if I'm trying to save a bit of weight. Mostly using the Sunset outfit. I've got the Sellsword leggings and gauntlets in there to save weight. I'll sometimes switch it up to the Flamberge if I'm trying to go for the full cosplay. And then of course for the rings, the standard FAP ring, life ring, prisoner's chain for those low level invasions, and then the last ring which I switch between obscuring and the hornet ring as appropriate. And then for my actual usable items, I tend to go pretty light here. One of the things I'm trying to do is use more Undead Hunter Charms. I'm trying to work that into more of my invasions. I find those really helpful. And you can see the build details there off to the right. So we are back in Cathedral of the Deep. I've kind of been staying away from Crucifixion Woods. My weapons are at +4, so I can absolutely match make in Crucifixion Woods. But the hosts there are typically at weapon level +2, and it really got to the point where it just wasn't fun anymore. With this sword, with all the levels and vigor that I have, hosts and their phantoms can just hack on me for days, and they really don't do much damage. I do tons of damage to them. Typically 4 or 5 R1s are all it takes to kill a phantom, and maybe add in an extra R1 for the host. Additionally, a lot of the hosts may be leveling things like strength and dex early so they can gain access to certain weapons, which means their vigor is really low. And I was winning literally 100% of my invasions against single hosts, and more than 95% of my invasions against a host and a single phantom. It was really only when I got in invasions with multiple phantoms and hosts that it felt like it was kind of an even battle to me, and it just got pretty old. Coming here to Cathedral in the Deep, most folks have now upgraded their weapon to at least +3, some of the time to +4. And so it's just a bit more fun. So here you can see I've got both the host and his summon chasing me around this open area. Dealing with multiple opponents in an open area like this is really, really challenging because you can't lock on to anybody or you won't be able to see both of them. So you have to play unlocked. Playing unlocked with like an ultra great sword isn't so bad, but when you're trying to do it with a straight sword, it's definitely challenging. I am not good at it. A lot of folks who did a lot of PvP in games like Dark Souls 2, where it really rewards unlocked play, have gotten good at it and are able to bring those skills here over to Dark Souls 3, but I am not one of those players. I wouldn't describe either of these two guys as PvP gods, but they're certainly more skilled than most. They have a general idea of the types of things that they should be doing. They know to be wary of my shield. You can see they're using jumping attacks. You can see the way that one phantom punished my whiff parry. So I'm trying some turn and burns. I'm using the AoE effect off the lightning bolts into the water. It's actually a really effective technique, and you can see the AoE that it generates is a very substantial size. That's a very effective tactic. As I mentioned in some of my earlier videos, the crossbow is a new tool for me. It's not something I've used much in the past, but I am really, really in love with it. It's just a great, great tool for dealing with both groups of enemies and also dealing with runners when you've got a host and they're trying to run away, maybe run back to the bonfire, maybe try to summon some more phantoms, maybe just try to live a bit longer. It really helps catch them and slow them down. So here I decide I'm going to try and see if I can draw them over to the Cathedral Knight here. They take the bait. Now that he's in play, the odds are evened up quite a bit. One of the interesting things with my build is that I actually played the game all the way through to the end. Now I have not beaten the final boss, but I've played far enough that I have gotten all of the bone shards and all of the Estus flash shards. When you invade, a common misconception is that you get half the Estus the host has. That's not actually true. You get half of your Estus. So in these lower level areas, when I have 15 Estus normally, that obviously gets halved to 7. I believe it always rounds down. It is very, very possible for you to have more Estus than even the host has in these situations. Certainly more than the Phantoms would have, unless the Phantoms are high-level Phantoms that are getting scaled down because they got password summoned by their friend. I really cannot emphasize how big a deal that is to have all that extra Estus in these invasions, and I'm really indebted to Niffenschwander. He goes by the handle of Niff. He hangs out on Reddit quite a bit. He's made a number of great YouTube videos, including a series known as Gankers Must Die. Definitely check him out. He has a build guide he called the Jolly Assassination Build Guide, and essentially a guide for how to build a character that's designed to invade. And having all this Estus and having Estus that will heal me to such a great extent because I've used all the shards is just really huge. I was finally able to take out that Phantom. I see the host is at low health. He hasn't healed, so he's probably out of Estus at this point. So now I'm just finishing him off with the lightning bolts. GG, sir. So back again at Cathedral in the Deep. I see the mob enemies out here have not been disturbed, so unless the shortcuts inside are open, they have not come out yet. And sure enough, there they are. I see a host and a summon, and I see at least one more summon on the way, so I know I'm up against at least 3, maybe 4. 4 is actually in some ways ideal and better than 3, because in order to get 4 you have to use the dried fingers, and if you use the dried fingers that means that there's another invasion slot that's open, and a 4v2 is a very different situation than a 3v1. With another skilled invader, I would much rather have a 4v2 than a 3v1. So right away, I noticed some things. I noticed that the host likes to engage in rolling attacks. Here, he's swinging and pressing R1 multiple times, even though I have a parry shield in my hand. So I kind of file that information away for later. I don't like to go to parries too early, because once you do, everybody gets really parry shy, and then they become very reluctant to swing. They change up their behavior and it makes them harder to parry. So I prefer to keep that around when I really know that I'm gonna land it and I can make it count. In most cases, I don't want to parry until I know that that parry is going to kill somebody. Unfortunately, at these low levels, that's not as practical. I don't have enough vitality to wield a large weapon, to have a pocket Yorms, to have a pocket Black Knight Great Axe. So if I riposte, it's probably going to be with this weapon, with this Astora Straight Sword, and it's just not going to do that much damage. So trying to see if I can get one of the Phantoms to break from the pack and follow me, and this one does. He sees me, he sees the Grave Warden and thinks better of it, runs back with his buddies. But now I've got the host chasing after me. I'm able to hit almost the entire party with one of the Undead Hunter charms. And now I'm getting excited because I've got the host by himself, I've got him on the ropes. Unfortunately, the other Phantoms see what's going on and they're chasing after me. I almost got that rolling attack off on him, but now I have to retreat. So I stop here momentarily so I can heal up, but the mob enemies in this area aren't very powerful, and if I stick around here, I'm liable to get cornered, and those mob enemies are going to be dead very quickly. So I have to get out of here. You never want to allow yourself to get boxed in like that. You always want to make sure that you've got an out, and ideally that out is going to have you traveling near other mob enemies to slow down any would-be pursuers. So I know down here at the bottom of this buttress, there's, I think, 3 enemies with crossbows. There's another somewhat powerful enemy with a halberd. And then down the walkway, more halberd enemies, the thralls. There's actually a group of thralls just around the corner from here. And they can be a real problem. Even when you're by yourself with no invader on your ass, those thralls can do a lot of damage very, very quickly. And this little walkway that I'm on right now can be very dangerous. So I decide to see if I can get anyone to fall for a Barker bomb bait here. Nobody really seems to be biting, but look at that. The host actually fell for the Barker bomb bait. I wasn't surprised and I was ready because I saw the way that he was playing earlier, throwing out R1s with abandon, using rolling attacks. Don't kill the host, but I do get the Sunbro here, or more accurately, the mobs get him. And you can see now that the way that the host and his summon are playing has changed substantially. They're playing quite a bit more cautiously. They're hanging back. That confidence in numbers that they had has been shattered somewhat by seeing the fact that one of their guys has fallen, and now they know there's only 2 of them. So I'm just going to stand back here and try to agitate them a bit, throw knives at them, hit them with crossbow bolts, throw bombs at them, anything I can do to just kind of irritate them. So kind of the worst case scenario here is that the host decides to go back to the beginning of the level and summon his buddy. The nice thing is we're so far into the level at this point, this is a very long level, that for him to go all the way back and get his buddy would be a considerable distance for him to go. The other thing to be aware of when using the Avalon, especially at low levels like this, is it uses a lot of crossbow bolts. Obviously it uses 3 bolts every time you pull the trigger. The exploding bolts, I believe, are 600 souls a pop. So you do the math, that's 1800 souls every time you pull the trigger on that thing with exploding bolts. And that can add up very, very quickly. What I usually try to do, if somebody has their buddy password summoned in here, I can get a huge number of souls when I kill them. And then I'll just go back to Firelink Shrine and use all the souls on crossbow bolts. I'm able to land the cheeky plunging attack, and here I retreat to make sure that they don't do the same in kind to me. I also notice here that the host and his fam, they're not healing quite as quickly as they were earlier, which is a sign that they've noticed they're getting low on Estus, and they're trying to carefully husband what they have left. So I kind of screw this up here. I'm actually out of explosive bolts and I don't realize it, so I keep trying to reload and reload. Eventually I realize I'm out of the explosive bolts, but I missed an opportunity to do quite a bit of damage. Now I've got both Grave Wardens in play, which is a great situation for me. Kind of guard the exit here. And I don't know if you noticed there, but both Grave Wardens had the host pinned together, and that was just more than he could take. I get the lucky backstab there at the very end. And that was an awesome invasion.